School is brought to you by BASF and Pride Seeds.
We're joined today by Dan Towery of Ag Conservation Solutions. And Dan, a lot of growers are focusing on yield, they're focusing on genetics, and they're focusing on fine-tuning their nitrogen rates. And that is good. Those are key things. But you talk about the soil health, organic matter, and cover crops as being key in reaching high yields. Talk to us about that.
Well, the whole standpoint of high yields is by and large going to be determined by the soils that you have. And with management, i.e. the use of things like no-till and or cover crops, we can improve that root zone depth. We can make the soil biology more active. And this has all kinds of dividends, be able to tap into more nutrients and moisture. We can increase the organic matter, which again goes back to the moisture. It enables one to have more moisture available for those crops. Occasionally the weather doesn't cooperate, and this is where by improving the soil in a wet year we'll get better infiltration, less runoff. In a dry year we'll have more water available that will carry it through that dry period. Obviously there's limits to how far it can go, but it can significantly impact those yields in those years where it turns dry in July and August especially.
It's real dollars and cents. You talked about a 1% increase in organic matter, 1,000 pounds of nitrogen in that top 12 inches. $40 per acre annuity almost.
Right. And again, I don't want to send the wrong message that it takes time to do this. It takes years of no-till, manure perhaps, cover crops, and that 1,000 pounds that you were talking about, that's there, but it's a small part of that is available in. But again, it can translate to easily to $40 to $60 annuity per year. Now granted, it's going to take time to get there and cost a little money to get there, but when you look at the nitrogen savings and the increased yields, especially in the dry years, actually a fairly cheap investment.
Talk a little bit more about cover crops and their importance.
Well, the cover crops we're kind of the mantra that we've got 5 months basically of corn and soybean rotation where we have something growing. And we've got opportunities in the fall and the spring to do what we're doing with crops. We're taking sunlight and photosynthesis and making plant material. And in this case, what we're looking at is the carbon, the nitrogen. Why not take advantage of those 4 months out of the year? And again, may not see dramatic changes the first year, but the poorer the soils, the quicker you see a response with the cover crops. So as a tool to take care of compaction issues, to either scavenge or to fix nitrogen, it can, the healthier soil maybe even be able to help overcome some of the soil diseases. For example, cereal rye, we can plant that and we know there will not be a problem with white mold the following year. It takes care of it. Now granted, there's always some trade-offs. There's no free lunch, so to speak. But it can change the whole environment in which the crops are raised. And again, you need to do your homework. You need to talk to experts and to figure out what works in your locale. For example, the cover crops, cover crop radish and oats is a real popular introduction to cover crops, because most of the time they will winter kill with 3 nights in the teens. So you've got them growing there in the fall. There is a little odor associated when they're decomposing. Kind of smells like rotten cabbage, but it will be almost residue free come spring. So that's a good way, and again, it's not uncommon to see anywhere from a 8 to 12 bushel kick on corn following a reddish. One example of high yields, the winner this year in the no-till irrigated class, which happened to be the highest yield of any classes, was David Hula in Virginia. It's kind of a sandy loam soil, not all that great. Now he did have it irrigated, but he has been long-term no-till. He's starting to use the cover crops. Produced 429 bushels this year, which is not too shabby. And again, I don't know how much nitrogen he actually put on, but knowing David, it was still within the parameters of what would be considered adequate, but not over applying. But again, he understands, he treats his soil in such a way that he is making it biologically active, and this is one of the tools, if you will, in his tool chest that he makes the most of.
Well, thanks for your insights today.
Yep.